Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name is Brian, and today, forgive me, I've been a little under the weather the past couple weeks, so it has diminished my output a bit. I'm falling a little bit behind, but I saw some people are opening their Vinegar Syndrome packages for the month of October. So I have my package. I am going to do it a little differently because most people like to go through the Vinegar Syndrome titles first. But I figure you guys have seen what's in this box. I can cover that stuff last. I'm going to start with my partner label stuff to begin with before anybody can tune out. I'm going to start with a label that I've been meaning to highlight for a while. And they've been doing some cool work, and that is DEAF CROCODILE. This month's release is Zero Grad, aka Zero City, and this is from 1988. It's a Russian film, and it is described as Monty Python is listed. What do they say? They say... I want to say it's like Monty Python and Agatha Christie and Kafka, and that is certainly apt. I would say at least at the beginning you could think of it as like Gilliam or even Charlie Kaufman as a point of reference in terms of the absurdity of the film. It's really fascinating movie, but it's not absurdity that continues for comedic purposes. It starts to turn dark at a certain point, which I think is an interesting way to go. It's a kind of film where, the basic plot at the beginning is that you have this employee, this guy who works for, I think, a manufacturing plant. And he comes to Zero Grad to talk to the company that supplies the air conditioners to his company. And they need to change a panel on them or something because it's not working with their system anymore or something. So he needs to go there. He's been told to go and meet with somebody in person. So he goes to the office. He gets a, pass to come on the lot or whatever. And when he goes to meet the man he's supposed to meet, he walks into the outer office and his secretary is sitting there totally naked, typing at her, her word processor very nonchalantly as if it's not a big deal. And this is the kind of movie where the absurdity is not sort of naturalistic to everyone. Our main character is our point of reference. And so he's very much like, what is happening here? He's very taken aback by this woman being naked. He finally goes in to meet with the guy he's supposed to meet with. And he says, hey, do you know that your secretary is completely naked? And the guy's like, really? And he walks out and he looks and he's like, oh, so she is. And then just kind of continues about his business. So the people in Zero Grad seem to be aware of a certain absurdity and or it's commonplace to them, while our main character, the Kafka-esque character, is caught in this what becomes sort of a nightmare scenario. I mean, the next scene, this is only the first 15 minutes of the movie, so I'm just trying to give you a sense of what you're in for, but the next scene, he goes to a restaurant, he orders some lunch, the waiter asks if he wants dessert, he says no, and then when he's finished with his meal, the waiter wheels out a tray with tea and says, here's your dessert. And the guy's like, I didn't order dessert. And he's like, well, the chef really took a liking to you, so here's your dessert. He pulls off the top of this covering. It's a cake that is life-size and in the shape of the main character's head, including eyeballs. It's very off-putting and strange, and he is, of course, alarmed by this, and the guy cuts off a fourth of it and puts it on a plate and says, here you go. And the main character's like, can I just get the check, please? And the waiter warns him. He's like, well, if you don't taste the cake, at least the the chef will kill himself. And the guy's like even more put off and gets up and almost runs out. And then there's a gunshot, and we see the chef, who had been standing there sort of waving at him, now on the ground with a gunshot in his heart. And then the next thing he's talking to the cops about what happened. And then the cop is like, well, the waiter did tell you that he would do that. And anyway, so it's this absurd thing. And it starts kind of funny, and then it gets darker as he goes to visit this museum that's all about the history of the town. And it's very surreal and strange. But yeah, it's a totally up my alley kind of movie, and definitely a movie that I wouldn't have known about if not for DEAF CROCODILE's release. And they also have a lovely, well, there's a new 2K restoration of the original 35mm picture and sound elements by Most Film. New video interview with the director, co-writer Karen nope, I can't say that name. Moderated by Dennis Bartok of DEAF CROCODILE. And then a new commentary by film journalist Sam Deegan, who we like here on this channel as a commentator, one of my favorites. And a new booklet with an essay by filmmaker, writer, punk musician, and genre expert Chris D. And so you get all that in this nice package. And yeah, I just wanted to say, if you haven't been paying attention to DEAF CROCODILE, they're definitely one of the best and most interesting, along with Fun City Editions, partner labels out there. Their more recent releases are things like Ilya Muromets, which is like a fantasy sweeping epic. Also, I want to say in Russian, sort of a you can see from the cover there, it's like this big, and this is from 1956. So in the era of Ray Harryhausen and such, a sort of lost Russian fantasy film that you can check out from them. I think I've highlighted it here, but this is a really fascinating one too. This is a Romanian animated film called Delta Space Mission, which is one of my favorite releases that they've done. If you're into like movies like heavy metal and I mean the Ralph Bakshi sort of, but it's just a trippy, weird space sci-fi animated film in Romanian, and they just announced, I think, a new Romanian animated title coming as well, and so that's very exciting, you know, from them to get these. I mean, a lot of this stuff is way, like, it goes beyond the sort of normal, like, I haven't heard of that movie to what are we even talking about here? Like, this is beyond my normal realm of the kinds of movies I'm exposed to, and thus they're really bringing forth some fascinating stuff that, you know, I didn't even, like Russian and Romanian animated films, like not even on my radar. 80s Romanian sci-fi film Son of the Stars, coming from DEAF CROCODILE. They also have the wonderful looking Solomon King, which is sort of falls into the blaxploitation area, but is obviously, I think, more than that. And that is one that they're very proud of from 1974. That's coming soon. They did a Kickstarter for that. So very excited for that to come. And then this one here, the time-bending mysteries of Sharam Mokri. I've only heard amazing things about this, especially the one called Fish and Cat, which is like a slow burn horror. These are from 2013, 2008, the 2000s generally. But they're in Persian with English subtitles. It's a group of 1, 2, 3, I want to say like 4 films from this specific collection here, and another one that's just like completely out of my depth. I have no clue about these films, but I'm excited to check them out. Again, I've fallen a little bit behind, but wanted to highlight DEAF CROCODILE at the top of the episode and tell you guys to check them out and keep an eye on what they're doing, especially with this new Romanian animated film coming, Delta Space Mission, definitely one of my favorite releases this year. So that's that. Next up, another label that I'm really excited about lately is a new one, VHSHITFEST, we'll call it. Could be pronounced another way. This is their new one. It's called Blood Hunter. And this is from Taking a Bite Out of Crime. And this is from 19... boy, I can't even read it anymore. 96. Victor Jack Shrum is a lonely vampire who was banished from Russia almost 400 years ago by the mysterious Old Ones, now lurking in the caves of Kentucky. He has decided it is time to secure a companion and to help his adoptive land and its growing crime problem. Follow Victor as he sets forth on one gruesome adventure after another. He's bad for the good. This unique take on the vampire genre has rarely been seen outside of its original scarce VHS run. First-time filmmaker Jack Schrum, along with co-star director Chuck Ellis, managed to perfectly capture 90s backwoods rural Kentucky landscapes while mixing innovative gore special effects and hilarious one-liners for a movie unlike any other. VHSHITFEST could not be happier to take a bite out of crime and bring you the disc debut of an underrated, underseen classic. So Dan Kinham, who's running this label, very excited about his stuff. This is with the Corn Shucker and now this, movies again that were off my radar completely, and movies that he's very passionate about. This is a new transfer from the original Beta SP master. An audio commentary from the director and lead actor is here. From Russia with Blood, a making of documentary with new interviews, 50 minutes, locations then and now, archival Q&A, archival 90s interview, over 2 hours of raw footage, including unused scenes. So, and this is all region. So I'm really excited. And I'm hoping to have Dan on the channel at some point in the next month or so to talk about the label and to talk about his newest release, hoping that there's one coming in December. So sometime between now and then, I hope to have Dan on the channel to talk more about what he's doing. And as I said, it's one of the ones that I'm excited about, this new label. So that's Blood Hunter. Then we have let's see here, from Factory 25. This is really cool. In the Soup, Alexander Rockwell's film In the Soup. This came out in 92. This was class of 92 with Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs, and there is a fully printed Q&A between Alexander Rockwell and Tarantino, I think right around that time when they were coming up together and making movies together. And of course, if you don't know Alexander Rockwell, he's made a lot of interesting films, but you might most notably remember he did one of the sequences in Four Rooms, along with Allison Anders and Rodriguez, Robert Rodriguez. His is definitely one of the most interesting sequences if you remember the 4 or 5 that they have in that movie. But anyway, In the Soup is probably part of the reason that he's, in that mix, because this is a really neat, announcement kind of film. It's a film about a guy trying to make a film. That guy is named Adolfo Rollo, and he's played by Steve Buscemi in a really great earlier performance. Obviously, he was working before 1992, but it's a great, showcase for him. And he plays this guy. He's a starving artist in New York, living in a, rundown apartment with his landlords, always nagging him for the rent. Next door to Jennifer Beals, who he wants to put in this movie that he's making. And he puts an ad in the paper and gets a response from a crazy sort of dude that seems to be criminally aligned. And he's played by Seymour Cassel in a really, really fun Seymour Cassel role. And so they sort of get in on making this movie together, and it's a wild journey of Adolfo sort of meeting people and learning things along the way from them. And the movie's more about the journey than the result, that kind of a indie comedy. But there's great stuff with like Carol Kane and Jim Jarmusch have a scene or two in the movie, and it's just a really cool, neat-looking black and white, 90s indie that I've been a fan of for a long time and have been wanting to have on physical media for a long time. So this is a really wonderful release. This is a slipcase, and you get a really nice book. This is like more than a booklet. It's pretty thick, as you can see. And as I said, it has a good portion of it is the interview with he and Tarantino talking about their influences, about their styles of filmmaking. There's also an intro from Alexander Rockwell done in 2022. Jennifer Beals has a little paragraph. She says something. So there's a nice little book that comes with it. And Seymour Cassel on the disc. And then in terms of features, we have the new 4K restoration, which looks lovely. Little Feat, the award-winning 2014 feature film made by Rockwell, which I'm excited to see. Post-screening Q&A with Alexander Rockwell, moderated by Nicholas Rapold, and the booklet, 32 pages that I mentioned. So this is a really nice one, all region from Factory 25. Hats off. They did a wonderful job with this release. This is a movie that would be worthy of the Criterion Collection, and I wouldn't have been surprised to see them put it out. Like, it's that good and that sort of landmark of an indie from the 90s that if you know it, you understand how much Rockwell stands alongside somebody like Tarantino, or even, somebody he follows up like Jim Jarmusch, who is in this film, but clearly respected what he was doing. It feels like Jarmusch, but something else. It's a little more, it's not quite Tom DeCillo, but it's in that ballpark, and it's very good. And I was really, really excited to get that. So there's that. Then we have one that I wanted to check out for Halloween, but was sidelined by my sickness. But this is from Canadian International Pictures. I think their first horror release, the Amityville Curse. And this one looks a little dark, but it is... after purchasing a property in Amityville, New York, Debbie, stage veteran Donna Whiteman, and her husband invite 3 of their closest friends to help renovate. Immediately uneasy in her new surroundings, Debbie begins experiencing shocking, vivid nightmares. Vague unease turns to outright terror when the home's inhabitants discover its brutal past and mysterious visitor turns up dead. As the line between dream and reality disappears, their focus shifts from renovation to escape, but it's not clear who can be trusted or who will make it out alive. One of the most overlooked entries in any major horror franchise, the Amityville Curse deviates from the series formula to surprising, amusing, and unsettling effect. Handsomely shot by Rodney Gibbons, My Bloody Valentine, and based on a novel by famed parapsychologist Hans Holzer, who also wrote the source material for Amityville 2 Possession. This is inspired an oddity full of memorable horror flourishes and moments of jaw-dropping wildness. So scanned in 2K from the original 35 camera negative, audio commentary featuring Paul Korup of CanucksPloitation.com and film historian Jason Pinchowski. I'm a big Paul Korup fan. He really knows the Canadian cinema really well. If you haven't checked out CanucksPloitation.com, it's an incredible resource for Canadian genre cinema. We have Amityville Memories, a 16-minute interview with director Tom Barry, acting in Amityville, and interview with actress Donna Whiteman, shooting in Amityville, interview with cinematographer Rodney Gibbons, and Rodney remembers 11 Minutes Gibbons reflects on his body of work, plus a booklet featuring a new motion picture Purgatory comic strip by Rick Trembles, and an interview with ghost hunter author Alexandra Holzer, and a reversible cover art, which you see here, which I have reversed. So that is Amityville Curse from Canadian International Pictures. And then last but not least, we have Shock-O-Rama Video Party. This is from Agfa. Now, they just announced, I think, a new Doris Wishman collection. Part 3 of that collection, which is exciting. I love that they've really dug deep on her catalog. I hope to be highlighting that, but in the 1990s, Something Weird hypnotized a generation of movie maniacs by unearthing the most radically surreal genre films of all time, all via the magic of VHS. Shock-O-Rama Video Party is a hallucinogenic tribute to the cathode-filled, tube-filled rays of let's see here, of the 4 regional horror blasts preserved from the original Something Weird SVHS masters. As the film elements haven't all been lost, this collection serves as a time machine to the beloved era in home video history. So you can see here we have 4 features: The Naked Witch from 1961, Violated from 1953, Ghosts of Hanley House from 1968, Passion in the Sun from 64. Naked Witch, 1-part documentary, all parts unreal. This Texas-made exploitation witchcraft from Larry Buchanan is dreamy travelogue, 2 parts unknown. Violated, 1953. Precursor to Psycho, this DIY horror noir was filmed in the gutters of New York City and written by exploitation producer William Mishkin. Ghost of Hanley House, written, produced, and directed by one-time filmmaker Louis Sherrill. This is a phantasmagorical DIY version of The Haunting. Appears uncut for the first time. Passion in the Sun, also known as The Girl and the Geek. Carnival Set Rampager from Texas Wildman Dolly Berry is an outsider trash art of the highest order. Original SVHS tapes, Naked Witch archival commentary with Larry Buchanan and Nathaniel Thompson, shocked out trailers, full uninterrupted program, all night slumber party mode. So these are 133-1. That's all region. That's a great collection from Agfa. Very exciting stuff. And then I'll just whip through the Vinegar Syndrome titles. I'll start with the VSA Moon of the Wolf. This one's starring David Jansen, Barbara Rush, Bradford Dillman, one of my faves. Directed by Daniel Petrie. It's a werewolf movie, and it's a TV movie. And I remember it being okay and watching a crappy version on YouTube, but I'm excited to watch this new version of it. Newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm interpositive, and also includes an interview with editor Richard Halsey, and commentary track with film historians Amanda Reyes and Daniel Budnick. That is one of the reasons I picked this up. I love Dan and Amanda a lot, and if you haven't checked out Made for TV Mayhem, the podcast they do together, well worth your time. Amanda's got a great book about TV movies. She's doing a lot of commentaries lately, and I've been very excited to see that, but I love her and Dan together as a great duo. So one of the big reasons to get Moon of the Wolf for me was their track. So that is the VSA. Let's see here. We have Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman 4K. This is a Paul Naschy movie. I am sort of mixed on Naschy. I don't always enjoy his stuff. But this one came with the package, and it's 4K, and it's supposedly one of Naschy's crowning achievements. So, I'll give it a look. If ever I was going to like one of his films, this is probably the one. And in 4K, as I said. So, cool looking cover. Werewolf versus Vampire Woman. Let's see here. One of these is a little risque. Do not open until Christmas. Yeah, do not open until Christmas. I can't show you the slip. It's a little much. This is the censored version of the cover. This is sort of an old VHS classic. Whoa. Some crazy stuff happened on the back there, too. Yeah, this is another one that it came part of the package, but I've been wanting to. I think this is one I've almost checked out several times. And, because it's a Christmas horror movie, and there's only so many of them that are any good, and this is one that gets mentioned as one that's worthwhile. Newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm internegative. Brand new interview, additional scenes with director-writer, interview with actress Caroline Munro. That's always a plus. Yeah, some nice features on here. Amanda Reyes commentary with producer Ewan Cant. So you get more Amanda Reyes on this one. That's wonderful. Good month for her. But yeah, this is one that's good holiday horror for the season, which is to come right now. Oops. Sorry. Anyway. Then we have the Blood Delirium, which is another one that's, classic Vinegar Syndrome. Hadn't heard of this at all kind of movie. It says, Saint Simon, a deranged manic painter, believes that he is the reincarnation of Vincent van Gogh. When his beautiful wife dies unexpectedly, Simon suffers an emotional breakdown and insists that his necrophiliac butler, Herman, help recover the corpse from the cemetery and bring it back to his castle to help him retain his creativity. Placing the body on display inside of a hidden crypt, still struggling with his art, Simon soon meets a young woman named Sybil, who bears a striking resemblance to his late wife, etc., etc. I don't know. Curious about it. We'll see what happens when I check that out. And then last but definitely not least, the one everybody's most excited about, Texas Chainsaw 2 in a 4K presentation. And I am a fan of this one, and I've come around to it a lot over the years. It was the first time I saw it, I hated it. But I realized then that I didn't really understand Tobe Hooper and what Tobe Hooper was doing and the kind of things This has got a loose disc in it, I think. I'd seen this on another video. Somebody opened theirs and it wouldn't stay on the spindle. So I'm going to check it out. But anyway, I didn't really understand Tobe Hooper and what he was doing and what he was about. And my friend Patrick Bromley, who I was really excited to see get to do the commentary track on this one, which I am very excited to listen to, was the person who helped me understand what Tobe was about and how so much of his work is about comedy, very dark comedy, but that you have to treat it with that sort of lens to get in on his wavelength. And I think once I did that, once I started to think about them as comedies, especially this one, it became more clear to me what he was doing. And so you got your 4K and then 2 Blu-rays in here, but this is sort of the crowning disc of this set. Very excited to have this one on 4K, and again, to check out Patrick's commentary. And it's just a boatload of special features on that. Just tons of stuff. Presented in HDR with newly restored from its 35mm original camera negative with the following sound options: theatrical stereo mix, brand new commentary track with film historian and film critic Patrick Bromley, commentary with director Tobe Hooper, commentary track with actress Bill Moseley, Caroline Munro, and special effects supervisor Larry Corus, and property master Michael Sullivan. Tons of great stuff on here. This is just obviously like a full-on, if you like this movie, this is the edition you need. I can probably sell my Scream Factory version kind of thing. But anyway, so that is it for this round of Vinegar Syndrome and partner labels. Just a few things to mention. Another one that I'm very excited to check out is from our good friends over at Decanalog. This one's called Dakra. And it says, that's Dakra right there. Grisly, frightening, and stuffed with howling thrills, Dakra won over both Fright Fest and Venice Film Festival. Equal parts Midsommar and the Blair Witch Project, Dakra begins with a simple classroom assignment and spins through double plot twists into high-tension cannibal sorcery. Yeah, no, I'm into that. And there's some cool imagery on the back, if you can see there. I love that shot. That's almost like Fulci or something on the back. This is from 2018, a newer film. This is from Tunisia, in Arabic with English subtitles. But yeah, always interested in what Decanalog is doing. Had to mention them at the end here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.